Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. How are you? Please don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe if you haven't yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, a connected down an epiphany, a mind explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, artwork to create, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description of this video. And if you're interested in any of my artworks, pieces, pyramids, epoxy stuff, go on over to alisonkatz211.com where you can see my beautiful, exquisite artwork. I'll go into what that is. Fun times. We'll see how far I can get today with this book. Channel memberships is another great, fantastic way to support me and to support this channel. 3D, that's the only level I have right now. And with that, you get free Oracle collective. I don't do it individually. Readings on my channel, usually get them done on Saturday, but this Saturday I have a vending event, and then I will be live on Turn the Page with Janine at 5 with Arnie. So probably won't be able to get it done then, but I'll try to get it done on Sunday. I'd like to give back to you guys. Fun. And I am going to do monthly raffles, which I already had 3 successful raffles. And don't know what to raffle off next, but I hope it's something good. I always have something good, but we'll see. But you guys get a free entry in. So if you're interested in channel memberships, click the linky doodle. It's in the link section and it's on the bottom of the video. Hi, everybody. So I'm sorry I waited because it's just about 7 something. Yeah, this is a problem. It's 7 something in the evening. We just had a crap load of storms pass over Northwest Indiana. The storm thankfully did not produce a tornado, and but a lot of lightning, a lot of wind, so I didn't know if I was going to lose power. And when I'm doing videos, it's like it just stops and it's just really horrible. So I wanted to make sure I was in the all clear before I did a video and that I didn't have to take Freya downstairs to my room to hunker down. Thankfully, everything's fine. And the reason why I'm starting to get again sick, not only because of the kiddos, Texas, take your dust back. There's a dust storm that hit up here with the storms that are coming through. It is dumping a ton of dust. The air quality is shit. And beyond the fact that I'm like allergy season's here. This cough is like horrific. I've taken my zinc, I've taken my supplements. And I'm drinking tea. Right now it's coffee. So I'm doing the best that I can. I'm going to try to make it through. Yeah, let me go get something, guys. Hang on. I'm back. Sorry about that. I can't. But the Seventh Seal, The Way of Attainment, Part 2. Part 2. And do not make the mistake of suppressing the impulse of gladness and mirth. Think it will hinder your spiritual development. Some appear to think that if they were to live close to God, they would of necessity be sad, denying themselves every pleasure they naturally feel inclined to enjoy. But this is very wrong. We are cautioned against this very thing in Malachi 2:13. And this have ye done again, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping and with crying out, insomuch that he regardeth not the offering any more, or receiveth it with goodwill at your hand. You are a part of God, and sometimes you want to laugh. Well, that is God wanting to express mirth through you. If God did not want to laugh, you would not want to, for God is all. Thank you! God makes you want to sing and dance sometimes too. To move the body rhythmically to dance is a holy pleasure, provided it is done wholly unto God. That is, if you realize that God gives you the impulse to want to dance and simply thank Him for the pleasure of it. We are told repeatedly in the Bible to rejoice in the Lord and are exhorted specifically to praise Him in the dance. And in Phil 4:4, we read, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. So do not think that being spiritual necessitates being sad. Sadness is injurious to health. It is sinful. I don't see it that way. We are all sometimes sinful in this way, but we should strive to overcome this as much as any other fault, and should not associate somber thoughts with worthy qualities. Life lived close to God is the happiest, most cheerful life that can be lived. Of course, there are states of mind higher and more sacred and more enjoyable than those impelling to laughter, but that is no reason why we should suppress an impulse to laugh if we feel it. The honest thinker will say at once that if God makes us want to laugh, then we will have to say that God makes us become angry too. In a way, He does. But think just what I said in regard to that before. I said that the urge of the spirit is the original cause of everyone's doing what he does. But this urge has yet in many cases to come through minds, but slightly developed and incomplete understanding of things. It is not the ultimate purpose of the spirit to make you become angry, but it has to let you become angry temporarily while you're getting experience, which will enable you to better comprehend all phases of the truth. Because anger may be the only form of expression you have yet learned to give to an impulse, which in itself is high, as in the example given of a sense of justice without tolerance. For let us get clearly in mind that creation is not yet completed. It is continually going on, and when the understanding is more highly developed, the same urge will not cause the same result. When we understand how we are all just in the process of making, it is an easier matter to forgive if someone does what at one time might have greatly offended us. But when we stop to think that the reason people do wrong is that their understanding is not yet sufficiently enlightened to cause them to do otherwise, the impulse we feel toward them is not just to censure, but to help. To broaden your horizon and gain a more comprehensive outlook on life, get acquainted with the literature of the New Thought, if you are not already familiar with it. This new philosophy of life, or truth, as it is sometimes called, affords an uplift that will change despondency to hope. But in saying this, it is also necessary to mention that the fact that there is much that may be found in bookstores under the general caption, which must be discriminated against as really harmful. Proving all things, hold fast that which is good. And among the diversity of opinions, beware of the error that the whole of life can be worked out on any two of the three planes of our existence, physical, mental, and spiritual. The writers who, while no less spiritual, are also rational and recognize a divine and eternal purpose of our triune nature, will be found most helpful to read after. For our conception of the truth, no less broad than this, is what must eventually bring order out of the confusion that seems to exist in the minds of many authors and teachers of truth. I have heard it said that one's intellect was a hindrance to his understanding of the truth. Of course, the teacher who said this was anxious to help those seeking light, but did not, in the case, make a correct statement. And such misstatements are likely to be very confusing and discouraging to some. The failure to realize the value and importance of spiritual perception is a hindrance to your advancement in the truth, for this transcends mere intellect, but even spiritual perception could not function independently of intellect. The two together might be likened in a way to the powerful telescope in the observatory. The intellect, the bulky machinery that holds the lens in place, and spiritual perception, the lens itself. But it is evident that either one without the other would not be a perfect instrument. Our intellect is of God just as much as any other part of us, and was given to us to use. The point is to use it to the highest purpose and to develop spiritual perception by going at times into the silence, quieting the physical senses as far as possible, and letting the mind retire to the stillness within. Then listen to be taught of the Spirit concerning the truth of life, and carry this knowledge back to the outer consciousness until more and more the whole mind becomes illumined by the light within. Thus grows the sum of our knowledge of the truth which transforms men, the truth, facts, which we shall know that will make us free. Interesting there. And do not fail to study the Bible for its deeper meaning. Your eyes will surely be opened, and you will realize as never before how plainly God is speaking to his children through the wonderful book. This is where my beloved fellows of the liberal faith have thus far fallen short. In their interpretation of the Bible, they have done nobly in defending the name of God from infamy. And one would think that glorious credo of compendium of Holy Writ, but they have missed the pulse of life that makes alive those pages, and having failed to listen for the heart that throbs beneath the symbols. If people would but realize that what Jesus taught us is the way to transform this life, making it continuous and eternal, they would get the full benefit of his teachings, and all the years of man's life after he has reached a certain age would not be wasted in effort for continued growth, attainment, and service, paralyzed by the thought of approaching old age and death. Instead, a gradual transformation towards the spiritual body and the paradise awaiting him, which he would willingly forego until his services to those of earth who are following on and earth's service to him is completed. No one who has faith in the glories of the heavenly life would wish to linger indefinitely on earth in age and decrepitude. Far better lay down the worn out instrument and be rid of it under such circumstances and conditions. Indeed, a little short-sighted selfishness might cause us to want to depart in early life to that fair home, leaving behind the toil and stress of earth. But we all have lessons that must be mastered on this earth plane, and we may as well continue to apply ourselves to the work now until we have finished it. More than this, the world needs to be made over. People on earth need all the help they can come to them from those who have grown wise and capable of giving saving help, and the ability to retain youth and vigor, while knowledge and experience value to mankind are accumulated year after year by benefactors of the race, instead of such pursuits and services being cut short by death, can readily be seen. This, far more than the beautiful thought of the continuity of life, is the real value of this knowledge. Eternal life and abundant happiness and prosperity are promised as the blessings of the covenant to which Jesus tells us we shall attain by keeping his saying. In other words, keeping Jesus' saying, earnestly trying to practice his teachings, not just knowing them, will cause us to be able to obtain the blessings of the covenant through the only way which ensures them in full measure. That is the possession of the spiritual power to recognize the soul of which one soul is a part. Until men realize that their bodies and all their bodily functions are holy and to be used as holiness unto the Lord, law, they will continue to lay down the physical body after a certain number of years. And if they have not worked out at all of life's lessons sufficiently well to satisfy the spirit within them, they will reincarnate and come back to earth to work out their experience in matter until they have conquered it and brought it into subjugation to the spirit. But as the spirit senses of individuals become sufficiently developed for them to be reunited with their soul complements, their bodies may live in continual youth, becoming lighter and less burdensome, eventually drawing nourishment from the air and warmed by their own electrical vitality as they are gradually released from heavy physical material and approach nearer to the spiritual body, the vibratory rate of which makes it more etherical substance invisible to the physical eye. But the development of the spiritual powers through altruistic love must come first, simply because it is only by means of them, geez Louise, that we can obtain this blessing. This is wherein God is the Lord, good is the law. God tells us that every knee shall bow and every tongue confess. And with the new understanding of the truth, it is as if he had added the final QED to the proposition which he has been demonstrating through all time. This, the thought, has doubtless been in the minds of many of my sisters. What assurance can I have that my mate, sorry, I need glasses. I have that my mate is living in the world today. This, however, is a question that no one can answer definitely for you, and there is no way for you to answer it until you may be drawn to that mate, and the right spiritual conditions give rise to the necessary knowledge. Then you will know and will know that you know. Your mate will not be living. He may have passed on before you, but even if for this cause or any cause whatsoever, the happiness of perfect companionship be deferred to the spiritual state of existence, it is not a great deal to know that it awaits you somewhere in your ascending career when all conditions are right. On the other hand, there is no more reason to think that one's mate is not living than that he is. The probabilities are that most of the people alive today could be truly mated if they were sufficiently developed spiritually to recognize each other. But this great problem can only be worked out by individual devotion to duty and high ideals. To be right in all ways should be our first concern, and only through our efforts to this end are we lifted above the physical and mental to the spiritual heights, where the law works unobstructed and adjusts this relation as originally planned, whether it be for us in this life or after we have passed out of this body. When all conditions are right, there will be evidence which will conceive and convince you beyond any doubt, for it will be more conclusive than the customary feeling of fondness for another, which is usually accepted as sufficient ground for marriage. Never proceed on this supposition that someone is your mate until all doubt has been removed by this proof. With it will come rest until your soul, its tireless quest rewarded, and you would be willing on the strength of this assurance to pass cheerfully this way alone, if any cause this might be necessary, rather than be united with any other. Beyond this, I may not tell you. If I did, it would if I did, it would fail to be a sign unto you, or to state it differently. It would disqualify you for recognizing this evidence for the Spirit, for the things of such inviolably sacred nature may not be banded about in print. This, when it comes, will reveal to you what I mean by the soul of the name. Do not be tempted foolishly to seek advice from fortune tellers or mind readers, or even friends, for this assurance you may have that when all conditions are right, every lingering doubt will be removed through your own interior powers, and depending on any source of information, except your own awakened spiritual senses, will only delay your development. No power outside of yourself can give you correct information in regard to this matter. It will come to you directly from the Spirit if the one in question is your mate, and you will walk close enough to God to understand his thought. So do not seek a proof, for it will come all unsought under the right conditions. Relieve your mind of it entirely. Be grateful that God has made you for such happiness, and go about your living with the definite assurance that it is worth while to be your highest self under every circumstance, and be cheered by the thought that every battle fought and won in your own soul has helped some other one, perhaps tired and disheartened, also to win. For this is all the world knitted together by the penetrating, radiating power of thought. There should be men whose hearts are pure enough and courage strong enough to unify and teach this truth. With precept emphasizing the necessity for a scrupulous personal examination and self-reliance in the matter of spiritual advancement, for this is the gospel that must be preached in all the world to every creature. But let any such beware lest they make known the finished mystery without emphatic warning to all men. For should the mass of men who might be incapable of appreciating the spiritual purport of this message, whose stage of development enables them to understand only the physical element of this function, think that because the sex power is thus approved of God, that it means less of self-control instead of more, and abandon themselves to the thought of the physical, even in one instance of cohabitation, they would, because of the capacity of the masculine body, surely bring upon themselves a torment spoken in Revelation, which stands as a warning for safeguard against the revealing of this truth of which I speak. The language is figurative, but the physical torment through the power of thought to effect chemical change in physical tissue would be real. Do not think Revelation to be merely an altered Jewish apocalypse, but hear the word as written. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches, avenues of approach to God, whether individual or universal. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. Revelation is a disclosing of the divine mysteries and a prophecy written after Jesus' time, a storehouse of information which only the key of the house of David will unlock. It is a masterpiece of symbolism, some of its most terrorizing imagery being simply statements of inspiring truths. However, the reference to the 9th chapter should be heeded as I have cautioned you. I beg each man individually not to think this mere speculation, nor that I am surely cautioning someone else. I mean every man. I have warned you, and let each reader make his own personal care to communicate no disconnected part of this information to anyone without the accompanying warning I have given. The curtain thus drawn aside, affords a long look ahead. We see God's plan for the continuity of life and a paradise of happiness eventually for every soul. We see the hopes and aspirations of youth and the desire for the cultivation of our God-given faculties, not abandoned in discouragement if unfulfilled in early years, but enriched and ennobled by experience and increasing knowledge of the truth and inspired by the thought of opportunity for continuous development along all lines being realized in further measure with the added years. For we find the roads leads not to the crest of the hill for half the way and then down on the other side, but as an ever ascending path that grows brighter and brighter unto the perfect day when the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and the Christ. It is of perfected earthly conditions that the vision is related in Revelation, when the tabernacle of God will be with men. Notice it is to be with men, not referring to a state of existence with which we are not familiar, and the promise is that there shall be no more death. The promise have been preserved for us, secured against attack through our long night of misunderstanding. Let us go forth into the glad morning of the new day just dawning, cheered and refreshed by the reasonableness of the hope for conditions of life and happiness on this earth that have hereto been thought too ideal to be made real. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. And God said, Wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passing up and passed away. Thus end. Oh no, that's the end of the book. What the F? What the? I had no clue that was the end of the book. What? What the what? Sorry for the coughing. I did take a suppressant. Wow. So for those of you in the biblical book, one book paradigm, this is a fantastic read. Fantastic read. There's some sections I didn't gel with at all or align with, but for the most part, for overall substance, this was spot on. Well, especially this chapter. I do have more Curtis books, so don't you worry. Don't you worry. I have to intuitively pick which one I'm gonna pull next. But wow, we finished the book. There's like multiple pages after the fact, and anywho, sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within, be the soldier, be the lighthouse, sprinkle and seed your truths. I hope to see you all in the next one. Thankfully, I didn't get blown away like Dorothy, and I will live to see another day. I'm hoping that I keep my voice this time. It's a dry cough, so whatever is in my lungs has to come out. And this is the dust. My windshield wipers were brown with the rain, but it's been here for a few days. And I've noticed this getting worse. And today, freaking horrible. So anywho, Thank you all for watching, supporting, liking, sharing, subscribing to my channel. I'm losing subscribers, so this happens once in a while where you might get unsubscribed somehow, so make sure that you are subscribed if you were already. I'm getting some notifications that I'm dropping again. This has happened 2 years ago. Whatever. It's about quality, not quantity, but quantity will help grow. So thank you all so very much, and I hope to see you on the next one. Have a blessed and beautiful day. Bye for now.